Work in the corporate environment, a lot of the times popularity is more important than being productive. And that's something we're going to cover in this video, right? A lot of the times you need to be popular in the office to win. Only the losers tend to work hard and realize that it's not actually going anywhere. So in this video, we're going to learn a perspective of a Black American. She has a channel called Imperfect Adult, talking about how she didn't fit into corporate culture and how she kind of never will.
But once I got to a point where I felt like I'm in my flow, specifically in project managing, where I feel like I got a good grasp on what I'm doing, because I'm not following the corporate rule book on how to be a star employee, I'm being told I don't fit in.
So we're starting with a short clip. We will go back to what she has to say here in a moment, right? So firstly, I want to talk about performance reviews. Now, managers, when they're doing performance reviews, sometimes they can't criticize your performance because you haven't done anything wrong with the actual technical elements of the job. So they have to find other ways of saying that you've done something wrong because you're not fitting in and you're not playing the social game. They can't put on your performance review, does not attend work social events, does not go to after work drinks and politic with the extended team members. So they have to word it another way, right? The typical way you'd hear it being labeled as you're not a team player, not attending kind of team building events. They'll word it another way, right? Like I say, they want your identity and social dynamics to be completely entangled with co-workers so that you're dragged into the drama and politics and that you're kind of forced to play that just to survive, right? It's deliberately meant to impact your workflow. You might be just trying to go to work and do a good quality work and work efficiently, but if all of these kind of drama and politics, it might seem pointless, but I realize there's certain power plays that are deliberately used by the company. It's a very compartmentalized company, any corporation. So for example, you might have a major legal contact and you might think, why does that particular legal contact have so much power? Why is it so important to get the buy-in of this particular lawyer to get a promotion? It's probably because she's one of the favorites of senior management. They want to use her as a filtering process to make sure anyone beneath her and who's getting promoted, maybe even in another department, is kind of on company code, on company culture, in the sense that they're going to overlook certain things, they're going to have the right opinions, they're going to push through and work through a lot of grey areas, a lot of suspect, dodgy activity a lot of major corporations get away with. You'll be tested all the time. Like, are you going to have the right opinion? Are you going to overlook this like we do? Are you going to give special treatment to this other employee that we believe we like, so you like them like everyone else does? Are you going to make sure they're popular because you're going to support them and suck up to them? All these type of dynamics are particularly there to create layers of bureaucracy and cover up layers of corruption, essentially, and levels of improper business activity. So it's a very subtle game. That's why the drama and politics is pushed on you, that you should engage in it, right? Now, this is what I mean, right? So, and you'll see this when you'll notice, all of a sudden there's a team member who maybe doesn't add any value, but they're highly valued. So what's going on there? There's always a backstory there, just in case you're suspicious of those dynamics. Now, a lot of the time is office politics and play with senior management. You might need to get them to like you just so you can get a promotion. And again, it's just like high school. Working with co-workers and dealing with high school contacts you had back in the day is exactly the same dynamic.
I'm here to worship the ground you walk on. I am here to provide a service for a sack of money and get on. And I am learning that it is not the people who do the best work. It is not the people who are the most reliable, who are getting promoted, who are getting talked about. It is the people who are the loudest. It is the people who are most in your face. It is the people that you see most often. I don't know. It's weird because I'll spend time analyzing leadership and I'm like, how did you get there? Who put you in this position? Who signed off on you leading other people because you are a trash people manager? You have no empathy. You have poor communication skills. You have poor time management. You have poor project management skills. But you're at every happy hour. But you'll play golf with the director. But your kids go to the same school as the officers' kids go to. And that's when I realized that this game is rigged. This game is rigged. How crazy is it to be in a situation, to be in a position to realize that you don't fit into corporate culture, but everything in your life is tied to keeping this job. Everything, right? My income my insurance, my health insurance. If I quit my job or if I get fired, I have to pay out of pocket for medical costs. In the United States, that's crazy, astronomical. Everything in my life is tied to me showing up and participating in a system, in an environment that I just don't fit into. No, I don't want to spend my personal hours at a happy hour after work. No, I don't want to bring anything to the work potluck. No, I don't want to volunteer with you in my personal time for an organization that I don't really align with. Why does that make me a bad employee? Why does that say that I am not a functioning, contributing member of this team? Because I want to come in at 9 and leave at 5. Why does that make me the enemy?
A memory from my career when a manager says, do you enjoy your job? And I think they could sense at that point I'd kind of had enough of that particular company and I was looking to leave anyway. So I said, I found this interesting. And if you watch my channel, you know that I like crypto. I have an interest in crypto. So I said, I find this crypto project we're working on quite interesting. I like to get involved in it and I'm working on certain things there. And then what ends up happening is he said, I didn't ask if you find this interesting. I said, do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy your job? And then I was thinking, like, this is the type of passive-aggressive games they like to play with you. And then I just kind of rechanged it. I said, okay, yeah, well, I enjoy this and I enjoy that. Yeah, I do find it enjoyable. Now, we all go to work to earn money, right? And that particular manager, without going too much into his personal life, he works, his wife doesn't work, and his wife kind of takes care of the kids, which is kind of rare to see in this society because typically you need both people in a relationship to work to afford to have kids. But they have like 4 or 5 kids, so he's earning quite a lot of money. She just takes care of the kids. He works his day job. I know he's working his job because he wants to provide a good life for his children, right? And his wife, so she doesn't have to work. And he has a photo of him and his kids on his desk. And he probably looks at that to keep him motivated through a lot of pointless work. So he's not working this job because he enjoys the job and it's so interesting and fun. It can be quite technical, stressful, lots of pressure from different avenues on the sales and trading floor, the traders, the salespeople, management, lots of grey areas where you've got to push things through and make things look legitimate when they're not legitimate. So he's dealing with all types of pressure, knows he could lose his job at any moment in case you have the wrong opinion or someone doesn't like you. These are the type of things you've got to deal with. So he doesn't go to work and enjoy his job. And I was actually being more genuine in that aspect because I'm single, don't have kids, I'm working, and I find it interesting. I wouldn't say the word enjoyable, just my choice of words, that this crypto project we're working on, I just really liked it, right? Because I really have a strong interest in crypto. And like I say, he's made an issue of that. So I had to change the word interesting to enjoy just to make sure I feel comfortable. But I think he could tell I didn't enjoy the job because I didn't like the general social dynamics there and the kind of obvious double standards I saw in the performance reviews. Now, this is the thing, right? When it comes to people, like I say, you're in a work environment, you're realizing you have to be popular. It doesn't come down to doing the most work, being the most reliable or consistent worker. The loudest person, the most popular person typically wins. And this is, you see it time and time again in the corporate environment. And she's making a great point about analyzing leadership. And I do this all the time because typically when you analyze leadership, and I try not to get too caught up in how much money other co-workers are making, but when you realize, well, roughly I know a managing director would make a certain amount of money. This person might be making double my salary or triple my salary or 4 or 5 times my salary. You end up doing some estimates there, and if you have any co-workers you kind of get on with, they'll give you a rough idea if you have a discussion of salaries coming up, not how much money they're earning, but how much money is being generally earned at different levels of the industry. Of course, you can check that information online. But I remember, for example, a managing director who's probably making about 300K a year. And it's kind of interesting. I was just thinking, how did he get here? Because I've spoken with him. He wasn't particularly good at technical skills. Like she says, people not being good at people management or time management. And then I'm like, what's going on here? How is he there? And I realized that in that particular instance, different characters have different reasons why they're in that position. He was there because he was decent at that level. He didn't pose a risk to the management above, and that was partly why he was brought in. What ended up happening is you had a managing director who was very good at politics, very good at managing people in comparison, but the guy above saw him as competition. So when that new senior management came in, he got rid of the person beneath him who was good competition and brought in someone who's mediocre, a really mediocre managing director who was good enough to get the work done. He was never going to fit in with the senior management and the upper echelon above him fully, but he was kind of like I don't know how to word it nicely, but he wouldn't speak in the most professional terms. He wasn't like a very good speaker. He came across as kind of a bit rough and low class, but he was good enough to do the managing director job without being a threat to the management above. And that's why sometimes you're at a company and you're realizing standards are dropping, and it's not necessarily due to nepotism or favoritism or DEI. It's due to senior management not wanting any threats beneath them, so they hire people who are deliberately mediocre and average, right? Because they're thinking, well, if I'm under threat in my role, that the most senior management, the board of directors, C-level suite executives, they probably won't see anyone else who can easily replace me beneath me. That's why they keep me in my position forever. That's what a lot of people are doing. They don't want people beneath them to be direct replacements for them in case there's any job cuts, right? So it's the same thing. You know this all the time, right? And there is a social circle element to it, not just at work, but outside of work. There's a certain social class that will be at each level, at managing director level, for example, sending their kids to the same private schools, same tuition, having the same hobbies, whether it's playing golf, going on ski trips. And all of that is more important, what they're doing outside of work. I remember having a manager at one point, and he would go on holiday trips with another co-worker, right? Two guys on the team that were friends, and they'd always keep it quiet because they didn't want to know anyone to get the impression there was favoritism, even though they clearly was like best friends and they were hanging out, and they would go on trips with their wives to San Francisco and places like that. And I realized that obviously there is some favoritism there. They just cover it up. People are always covering up the real social dynamics. And that's when you really start to realize the game is rigged, and how if you're not in one of those social circles, you're not one of those tight friendship groups between 2 or 3 people, it does impact your ability to succeed, right? And the thing is, and she's making a great point in the sense that maybe you don't naturally fit in, or you don't want to play the game to fit in, but everything in your life is dependent on that. Your income, your insurance, your basic, house, living costs, food, water, shelter, all those type of things. And it's kind of crazy because it's not like you're not good technically at the job. It's just you're not popular at work, and all of a sudden your popularity determines your social status and your class, and whether you can build a self-sufficient lifestyle for yourself, right? It's like you want to succeed, but the social barriers are determining your income, not your ability to work effectively, right? Your ability to agree with a corporate ideology, watch the same TV shows, and fit in is actually a bigger determinant of your success than the actual work. And this is what I mean. When you go to work, you have to understand you're not going to a genuine workplace. You're going to participate in a theatre show, and it's a fake show of productivity. It's a fake show of, it's almost like you're playing a character on a TV show, right? Like the Truman Show, like you're going to work in the office, that comedy show, Office Space, that movie, things like that. You're participating in a fake dynamic to really benefit your income, even though the work's fake, the results are fake, your managers being fake with you, everything's fake, but it's just what you need to do to earn an income, right? And the thing is, what she's talking about, personal hours, right? Having clear boundaries. Like I was saying, sometimes those healthy boundaries are great, but it's like you can't succeed if you don't break those personal boundaries in terms of going to work hours, happy hours, going to volunteer, even if you don't want to, right? And typically it's volunteering for causes that are leftist causes, things you might not agree with, things people are kind of gallivanting and supporting, which is completely maybe against the best interest of yourself, your community, the gender ideology getting pushed at kids. You might be told to volunteer at high schools where they're pushing certain gender ideology on kids you might not agree with, supporting migrants coming to the country through volunteer work when you might not agree with that particular perspective, but the corporate ideology wants to support it. So it really puts you in a tricky position, when you're told to support these causes. I'm sure lots of people don't mind doing some charity work, some volunteer work, but you want to do it on your terms for a cause you're actually supporting, not just some corporate fake-backed agenda that they're pushing.
Up to be. And I think it hurts so much, and I think it stings so badly because I idolized being here. I could not wait to graduate college. I worked my ass off to sit and pass for all of the exams, to get a stamp that says I am a licensed professional engineer. This was like the pinnacle of what I thought my dream was. And damn,
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go?
heartbreaking to know that I worked so hard and I strived so hard to be disappointed. And I know I have other options. I know working in corporate is not my only option, but it's scary. If you know anything about entrepreneurship, you know that it's not guaranteed, right? And like, let's look at the signs, look at the writing on the wall. The economy is not the greatest right now. And I feel insecure about my ability to freelance in my field because I'm so early in my career. I'm 5 years in. And it's not to say that I don't feel like I can provide value or that I can add value, but my whole life has been set up around getting a constant paycheck every 2 weeks. And this is why I will always preach financial management and financial literacy. Because if you find yourself in a position where your job got you messed up and you're able to quit and you're able to walk away, that's real power. That is.
So that's a good point here, right? And what she's talking about, how it hurts, because you want to do your job in some sense. You want to be effective on whatever your technical skill is. And many people they do want to work, but they also want to be independent, which makes sense to me, right? You want to make money, work your job. And of course, that comes with an element of social status and feeling some sense of self-worth through your contributing to society. But you're not necessarily driven by this external validation that your co-workers might be when it comes to being popular at work, right? And then when it comes to your job title, again, that's another thing people might have some vested interest in. But the thing is, right, if you're wasting years of your life at school, college, university, you're deeply invested in this particular career path, making a leap away from a safer corporate job to freelancing, doing something different, it's really kind of difficult. There is some instability, as she mentions here, right? When it comes to providing value, that's not the issue because you managed to do your job effectively in the corporate world. It's really about everything else when it comes to fitting in, right? And the thing is, when it comes to a corporate job and stepping away from that, you're stepping away from stability. And stability is a powerful drug, right? That monthly paycheck is kind of a powerful drug that keeps you addicted to that corporate job. So if you're going to step away from that because you don't feel like you're popular at work and you want to do something else, is there really an alternative that you can pursue, right? And a great point she's mentioning here, saving, minimalism, paying down your student loans, you're living in a lower cost of living accommodation, whether that's quickly paying off your mortgage, paying down your rent, maybe living in a smaller property so you have less rent to pay. And the thing is, like the only reason I could start my business is because of minimalism. I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment. I don't have necessarily high living costs, and that's why I can kind of dedicate the time and energy to do this. In a sense, many people wouldn't be able to do it, or they just won't be willing to take those sacrifices of sacrificing maybe social status and a potentially safe career. So a lot of that comes with a lot of risk, and I'm aware of the risk I'm taking doing this. And it's just one of those things where you've really got to weigh up the options, look at the direction your career's heading in, how do you want to live your life, and really plan 5 years ahead. I know we always hear about the term, having a 6-month plan, changing your life in 6 months, a 5-year plan, and so many things can change in that time frame, things that are out of our control. But it's all about doing your best to plan ahead and really think about what is the long-term goal. If you're really not feeling well at work in terms of the corporate environment, then you really should start planning now, because if you know that feeling's not going to change, you've been there for 6 years, other people may have been there for 10 years or more, and they've invested a lifestyle that needs their corporate job to support it. You can take those first little steps.
I still have student loans to pay off. I recently bought a car that I needed. I'm not a spendthrift. I bought a car because I rode my other car to 200,000 miles and that bad boy gave up on me. But if you know me, you know I was going to push that car to the end of the earth. And the fear that I harbor from leaving this job is cloaked, is shrouded by my fear of not being able to provide for myself. And that fear is so strong. As a person who wants to go to work and do my job and go home, as a person who is being targeted and singled out because I don't go to happy hours, because I don't participate in potlucks, because I attend in-person meetings that also have a Teams link attached to them on Teams. I know, y'all. I know. But I'm sorry, if you're going to put a 2-hour, and this is not an exaggeration. If you're going to put a 2-hour long meeting on my calendar, on my schedule, and still expect that the work I need to do gets done, and I have the expectation that I'm out of here at 5 o'clock. Why did you put the Teams link on the meeting? I'm joining on Teams and I'm doing my work. And I know. And this is my point. If you see why that's a problem, you're probably right. And this is why I don't belong in corporate America. This is why I can't get a grasp on finding a good groove, finding some sort of consistency and complacency where I don't feel constantly pulled to share about my life and constantly pulled to have meaningless conversations and constantly pulled to tap dance. I don't want to be here. And that's probably the energy that I exude to a certain degree. I'm not unaware of my body language. I'm not unaware of the nonverbal communication. I'm not unaware of the energy that I exude. But let's call a spade. How you feel on the inside reflects in your action. And I'm not around here skipping and jumping. I'm not around here trying to insert my 2 cents into everything because I feel like my opinion is the most important and I feel like everybody in this room needs to hear me speak so that they know I'm worthy of saying something smart. I don't have anything to prove. And when you don't have something to prove, and when you don't feel like the most important thing in your life is climbing that corporate ladder, you get a target on your back, especially if you're quiet. Or especially if you're quiet around some people and you connect really well with others. That's threatening to them. I think we're evolving collectively to understand that there is more to life than work. However, the corporate collective has not evolved. The corporate collective ideology is that work is the most important thing in your life.
She's made another great point here, right? In terms of, firstly, people not evolving that work is the most important thing in their life. So I want to delve into that a little bit deeper here, right? So firstly, you have things when it comes to middle management and senior management. For them, yes, their work is the most important thing in their life. They've built their entire identity around it for several decades. And not only that, they're invested in doing well at work in the sense that they have high living costs. They have very expensive houses, mortgages, kids in private school, things like that. So they need to play that game in a sense to really do well and make that thing work for them. Because if they do lose their job, they're really going to be struggling. And you'd be surprised how many people who are making a lot of money are really living at the max. They're not living below their means. They're living exactly at how much money they're making. They've got to keep up these false pretenses again to be popular in that social circle. They have to do the same things that everyone else is doing. Everyone else is buying expensive cars that they can barely afford with large car payments. They're having to do that. If they lose their job, they're really going to be struggling. Not only are they going to lose their sense of identity, they're going to be struggling financially too and move not just one level down the social status, financial ladder, they're going to move several steps down, right? Now, work is really the most important thing for these people. And also, a lot of these people, like I said, they have no alternative. And also, they really are more invested because they're earning a lot more money, right? If someone's making 200K, 300K, or a lot more than that, they're invested in it. They don't care if all their time is taken up with their job. They know they've got it good compared to a lot of people. So they don't mind having that type of dynamic. And when she started this little clip here, she was talking about, her expensive payments, the car loan payment, student loan payments. This system is really rigged to raise your expenses. That's why sidestepping and not following the path of other people is such a good thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't study, but be careful about what you're studying, how much it costs, and many things you can learn online for free these days, right? And then thinking about providing for yourself, right? That's very important in terms of how you can be self-sufficient. And you can live an independent, sufficient life without, like I say, having the highest living costs compared to other people, right? And the thing is, it's very interesting how you can be targeted at work for not fitting in, not being popular at work, right? You might be targeted because you're not attending the happy hour. You're not part of the discussions the morning after, the night before, when everyone was at the happy hour joking about this or that. Some little funny moment happened. You don't know about it, and all of a sudden it starts impacting your career because you're not in the in crowd. Being in the in crowd and fitting in at work is very important, right? And I see this the time when it comes to, Teams links, or, you have a Teams chat, MS Teams, or whichever type of instant messaging service you have at your particular company. There'll all be these in jokes, and you've kind of got to play along with all the dumb jokes that they have, right? And this is what I mean. She mentions another good point here around having the link to meetings. And typically, if you have a meeting and someone has a link on that particular meeting invite where you can answer it from your desk, and listen to that 2 hour long meeting. And there's so many pointless long meetings just for senior management to have a sense of self-importance and kind of talk down to people, or create meetings just to appear busy, just to give the impression of power. And we all know how many people in middle management or senior management aren't really needed. They're just someone's there to provide supervision for junior employees. They're not actually doing a lot of work. And that's why a lot of these meetings are in place, right? These committee meetings, things like that. Not a lot is getting discussed in many cases, right? And then you're someone who's maybe more junior and you have to do the actual work. So if you're going to be on a meeting where you have nothing to say, or you're not even allowed to speak technically on those meetings, you want to be at the desk so you can do actual work while you're listening to people drivel on about completely pointless things. And I remember so many team meetings where people, of course, they cover different aspects of work within the team, and it's like, to what extent are you going to pay attention to every little thing? I always have a filtering process, like, is this relevant to my current workload or something in the future? If not, I'm not going to fake an interest in it or try to register and take in all this new information in my mind when it has nothing to do with what I'm currently doing. But many people and management, they want you to kind of create these fake links of what work you're doing or what someone else is doing, just to show teamwork and collaboration. So you've got to listen in to what other people are saying to find out, okay, cool, well, they're doing that, I'm doing something similar, or I can help with that, or I can get involved in that, just to show a fake link of teamwork, right? And there's so many fake links, like weak links, I would say, between you and other people you have to kind of create to give the impression, the false impression of teamwork, right? If you're working, let's just say, for example, you're working on foreign exchange, FX trading, and you have a co-worker who's working on commodities trading, and there's no real link apart from some basics about trading activity, but then they might mention something that sounds very vaguely similar to what you do, and then you should speak up in that team meeting and say, oh, you're working on this particular gold trade. Yeah, I've actually done something similar in FX trading. Maybe I can help you with that. I'll be happy to help you or explain this to you. It's little things like that you've got to do that really are like game changers, right? So it's kind of funny. But if you are on pointless meetings, I agree with her. You should be able to sit at the desk, but many times they want to drag you to the meeting room to sit around and try to keep awake and not fall asleep while you're listening to more senior people discuss things that you'll never have a chance to be involved in, right? And the thing is, if you're in her position or some people's position where it doesn't feel like it's sustainable long term, constantly being pulled into pointless conversations, you mentioned this phrase tap dancing to keep a job, and I've mentioned in my videos the concept of being a court jester, being a court jester in the sense that you have a king, you have powerful people, and then you have to play the Joker character, you have to play a clown character at work of being fun and charismatic. That's really the role of a lot of people in corporate jobs, and they're always judging you on non-verbal body language, right? You can't hide or mask your lack of interest forever. There's only so much longer you can do that, right? And this is the thing, they don't want you to be in a position where you're content with yourself, you're confident, you're assertive, and they want you to always feel like you have something to prove, desperately seeking approval and validation. They really want to break your identity. It's similar to, it reminds me of the military. You know, when you go to work in the military, they try to break your identity and really talk down to you, so you kind of mindlessly follow what they say. Things like, shaving your own hair and kind of changing your identity, the way you dress, letting them dictate down to you. That's really what they do in the corporate environment in a much softer, passive-aggressive way. And if you're just confident and quietly confident in yourself, not even putting down others, they see you as a threat or arrogant because you're not desperately seeking the approval of someone who might be able to give you a promotion at work.
After we spent 2 years working from home and being more productive and breaking more records and raking in even more profit, and they still saying we were happier and saying we were more fulfilled and saying that we got to spend more time with our loved ones and our families, and they still told us to get back in the office. This is how I knew corporate wasn't for real serious. This is how I knew corporate wasn't serious. I am an avid work from homer. I am an avid proponent of work from home if it works for you. And it works for me. I love being at home in my own environment, with my own smells, with my own lighting, with my own temperature control, with my own snacks, with my own water, with my own bathroom, with my cute little kitty. I love being at home, not being bothered, not being disturbed, not dealing with that bright ass fluorescent lighting that just pierces my eyes. I love working from home. I am very productive in doing so as well. But I'm seen as not a team player because of it. And in instances where it has been an option for me to do so, and I have taken it, I have suffered repercussions, right? If you are a self-starter, if you are somebody who likes to work in isolation, corporate might not be for you. While I'm here, planted in the life of corporate America, I just want to get the message out to everybody. This is not our only option. And when I say everybody, I'm speaking to myself, baby, because I've got to reinforce this idea within myself. I am on a journey to replace my corporate income, on a journey to regain my freedom and live life on my terms. I have made very good decisions. I have had very good opportunities presented to me. And now I've got to get over my own fears. I've got to get out of my own way, and I've got to pave a way for myself. And like the crazy thing about it is, this is the best time for me to do it. I have no kids. I'm not married. I have nobody that depends on me other than me. I don't have a lot of expenses. I think to cover all of my expenses, I need to make about $3,500 a month. I could probably make that working like a very regular day job. I don't know. If I sound out of touch, sorry. I don't know.
So she starts by explaining, of course, the working from home. These companies all did have record profits. I'm sure some of that was getting money from the government through the back end, like many aeroplane companies, many transit companies. I'm sure they got some bailouts at the back end to keep them operating. And then you've got other major banks and things like that essentially benefited from quantitative easing, all the money printing these big central banks ended up doing. And then you've got instances where many companies all of a sudden, like I say, they wanted to engage in lots of layoffs, and that's what you saw in the couple years after the plan scam demic thing that we had to deal with. So this is what I mean, right? And when it comes to working from home, I really think that through carefully, because all of us had to develop some sorts of work from home habits. And there's many different theories about this, and I'll share a couple with you. One of them would be around lighting. Now, if you look around lighting when it comes to what's natural to work in and how people worked for thousands of years or hundreds of years, they would have low lighting. And what I mean by that is not fluorescent lighting that you have in the office that's quite harsh and raining down on you. You'd have lighting at your level, which would be like a lamp, a horizontal lighting. You can look into that, and it's kind of nicer to have a lamp or a more softer lighting, particularly in the evening if you're working towards the evening, not to have a massive exhibition of all the lights on that you have in the office that really make it harder to sleep in the evening, kind of reducing the light that is around your workspace as you get towards the evening makes it easier to sleep, and I recommend you look into that. Then when it comes to temperature, of course, you might be working in an office where it's super hot or it's super cold, depending on the AC or the heating, but everyone's body temperature is different, and you can kind of have more control about that if you are working from home. And then you can create a vibe when you are working from home. It could be things like music, it could be incense, it could be different things. And I know these sound like small things, having plants on your desk, whatever works for you, having able to make some hot food for yourself that isn't in a microwave or isn't overpriced at work. These little things, they really do make a major difference in your quality of life, right? Companies want to control employees. They want employees that they can control, not competent employees, right? So controllable employees versus competent employees. And you saw that. That was the key thing that came through the whole lockdown situation when it came to being able to control employees, right? Because there were competent employees that wanted to work from home who were getting the work done, but that wasn't good enough. They wanted them in the office. They didn't mind paying the extra cost for the real estate, because they want employees they can control and dictate to and brainwash, right? Now, there's a couple personality traits that really stand out if you're not going to fit in corporate. And if you realize you're like this over the long term, you should probably look into your alternative opportunities. For example, if you're a self-starter, you probably won't fit in with the corporate bureaucracy. You're going to find it stifling. They're kind of being very narrow in terms of how you can conduct yourself. You're maybe not speaking or conducting yourself in a robotic way that they prefer to. You have a bit more of your own personality. You're a bit more proactive. You're not working at the slow pace where you need to get approval from your manager, who might be micromanaging you, or all these cumbersome, long bureaucratic processes. If you don't fit in well with that, you should probably start your own kind of thing, or at least work towards your own income sources. You should start working on that plan today. It will take time, right? And I want to compare two things. You have the corporate ladder and the freedom ladder, right? And the corporate ladder versus the freedom ladder, what does that actually mean? So in a corporate ladder, you would essentially be, climbing the corporate ladder, going up to your next level of promotions. But in the freedom ladder would be like, okay, is this going to make me take one step closer to my freedom goal, right? Whether it's buying land, growing your own food, being self-sufficient, working online rather than working a corporate job. Another way of looking at it is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If a job is kind of putting you under pressure where any moment you could be subject to a layoff and remove your ability to, pay for basic food, water and shelter and clothing and things like that, then maybe you should rearrange on how you earn your income. Maybe you want to focus on having more of a minimalist lifestyle so you can reach higher goals in life. It could be self-actualization, traveling, having more time with family, investing more time in relationships, personal development, martial arts, things like that. So you really should think about what type of job, even if it's not a high status career job or even necessarily a high paying job, what is going to bring you closer to the freedom that you're looking for. And a lot of this comes down to prioritizing your mental and physical health, because a lot of people neglect both just to climb that corporate ladder. So if you have and these are the key 5 traits I'm going to go through, that's going to explain how if you don't fit in at work, you don't feel popular at work, you need to kind of look for alternative opportunities. If you have a dislike of micromanagement, you're a self-starter, you prefer autonomy, you don't like to be stifled by the rigid hierarchy of corporate environments, you're kind of generally resistant to bureaucratic time-wasting processes, due to slow-moving layers of bureaucracy, that can be frustrating for you. If you have general consistent conflict with conformative opinions, you generally tend to be contrarian, challenging the status quo, that's again another sign that you might need to look at different opportunities for yourself. If you constantly clash with a play it safe, conservative, risk-averse approach to culture, and avoiding risk-taking, if that's type of thing that you don't like and you prefer to take risks, then you're more of a self-starter, and again, consider opportunities outside the office. And if you generally focus on results, productivity, you're not really comfortable playing the social game at work, and then again, you focus on merit, you want to look at opportunities outside the office. And lastly, if you really want to have a meaningful impact, the truth is a lot of corporate jobs, even some jobs that pay well, where maybe you're a manager and you feel a sense of importance with social status and a job title, it can feel detached and repetitive, and you might not see a direct outcome from your work. You might spend all this time writing a complex report, doing a complex project, and then all of a sudden no one cares about it. It's like, what have you done for me lately? And then you got to start from scratch again. And that's how it can feel dehumanizing in the corporate environment. Now, I hope you learned from this video. I've worked in the finance industry for over a decade, Goldman's, Morgan Stanley, many other companies. And I offer career advice. Link in description if you want to speak with me directly. I'll be happy to help you. And let me know in the comments how you feel about not feeling popular at work, not fitting in at work, how that might impact your self-esteem, or working in the work environment, how you manage that type of dynamic. So thanks for listening. 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.